All right, let's jump right in. You see a company pull in billions in revenue, and it's super easy to think, wow, they're crushing it. But what if I told you that same company could be, well, a total disaster waiting to happen? Yeah, that flashy revenue number, it doesn't tell you the whole story, not even close. So today, we're going to pop the hood and see what's really going on with a company's financial engine.
And this is really the big question, isn't it? Is this company a genuine cash cow, or is it just a money pit that looks good on the surface? A business can sell a ton of stuff, but if it's burning through even more cash to make those sales, well, that's not a winning formula. So how do we spot the difference? How do we get past the hype? Turns out there are some pretty awesome tools designed for exactly that.
And the answer is something called profitability ratios. Now, the absolute best way to think about these is like a company's financial report card. Seriously, it's not just some single final grade. Oh no, it gives you the full breakdown, subject by subject, showing you exactly where a company is an A student and where it's maybe flunking out.
Okay, so let's crack open that report card. First subject up, margins. Margin ratios are all about one simple but super important question. For every single dollar a company earns in sales, how much of that buck do they actually get to keep after all the initial costs are paid? It's the first big test.
This table here really tells the story. First, you've got the gross profit margin. Think of this as the grade for how efficiently they make their stuff. You sell a widget for $1, this tells you how much is left after you've paid for the raw materials and the people who actually built it. Simple enough, right? Then we dig a little deeper with the operating margin. This takes out other big costs like marketing, R&D, all the office salaries. This grade tells you how profitable the company's main business really is day in and day out. And finally, the big one, net profit margin. This is the famous bottom line. It's the final grade after every single expense is paid. We're talking taxes, interest on loans, everything. This is the purest look you'll get at how profitable a company truly is.
All right, let's move on to the next subject on this report card, efficiency. Because, it's not just about how much profit you squeeze out of a sale. It's about how smart you are with the resources you already have. These next ratios, the return ratios, are all about grading how well a company uses its assets and its money to make more money.
And this slide lays out the two big ones perfectly. Over here on the left, we have return on assets, or ROA. This is the grade for how well a company uses everything it owns. We're talking its factories, its patents, its cash in the bank to make a profit. Then on the right, you have return on equity, or ROE. And this one's a bit more personal for anyone who invests. It grades how well the bosses are using the money that shareholders, people like you and me, have given them.
And honestly, there's a good reason why people call ROE the holy grail for investors. I mean, think about it. If you've invested your hard-earned cash into a company, this is the grade that tells you if the people in charge are actually doing a good job with your money. A high ROE is a great sign. It means they're not just letting your investments sit around, they're putting it to work, growing the business, and hopefully making you a solid return.
So, okay, we've got all these individual grades now, margins, ROA, ROE. But just like when you were in school, a single C+ on your report card doesn't really tell you the whole story, right? It's kind of meaningless without any context. So how do we actually read this whole thing to make a smart call?
Well, it really comes down to three crucial steps. First up is trend analysis. Is the company getting better or worse over time? I mean, a 20% profit margin sounds awesome, but not so much if it was 30% last year, right? Second, peer comparison. How does this company stack up against its direct competitors in the same field? And finally, you put those two together, and they help you with the big one, making smart investment decisions.
And that second point, comparing against peers, is so important, because context is literally everything. You wouldn't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, would you? Well, it's the same idea here. You can't compare a software company, which is probably going to have super high margins but not a lot of physical stuff, to a giant grocery store chain, which survives on tiny margins but owns tons of buildings and inventory. You got to grade them against their own classmates in their own industry.
Okay, but hang on. Before we finish up, there is one last absolutely critical piece of this puzzle. It's a little reality check that often separates the beginners from the pros. A company can look amazing on its report card showing this massive profit, but, and this is a big but, if all that profit is just a bunch of unpaid invoices from customers or a warehouse full of stuff that isn't selling, then the company could be dangerously low on actual cash. So the thing you absolutely have to remember is this: profit on paper is not the same thing as cash in the bank.
So, let's wrap this all up. What are the big takeaways? First, profitability ratios are basically a company's report card. Easy. We learned that margin ratios show you what's left over from sales, while return ratios grade how smart they are with their resources. But the key thing is that these grades don't mean much alone. You always have to compare them against trends and their peers. And maybe the most important lesson of all, profit is not the same thing as having actual cash in the bank.
Which really leaves us with one final thought. The next time you see a big headline about some company's record-breaking revenue, I want you to ask yourself, are you just going to look at that one number? Or are you going to dig a little deeper and read their entire report card? Because now, you know exactly how to do it.